and welcome to this week's episode of Real Estate Ready. I'm your host, Jerrod Pickering, and ready to take you through a buyer's representation agreement. So, as a buyer, you have an agent that represents you. You will sign at some point a buyer's representation agreement. Let's go through what a typical one looks like and make sure that you're ready to ask the questions you need to ask of your agent. Let's dive right in.
This is the standard form that we use in Texas whenever you're going to be doing a buyer's representation agreement. One of the things I want you to notice on this page is this also says the tenant representation agreement. So a lot of people don't know that a realtor can also represent you when you are looking to rent an apartment or another piece of property. So again, this is the standard form that's put out by the Texas Real Estate Commission. You may see other forms, but this is the one that most realtors choose to use. And so we're going to go through this form and talk about the different parts of this. I will remind you that this is a contract, and all contracts in Texas with your realtor are individualized. There is no standard fees, but there are some standard forms that we use, and this is one of them. And so, as always, if you have any questions, please do not sign any agreement. And this is good advice for life as well. Do not sign any agreement until you have all of your questions answered. And if you need to consult your own attorney before signing anything, if you do not understand it. So, the first part of this contract is very standard. Just it's naming you and your spouse or whoever may be purchasing a piece of property with you, and it'll be listing the broker. Please understand, you have a real estate agent that works for a brokerage, and you are going into contract with that brokerage, not necessarily that agent. And so, please, you'll see this here in this form. This is the brokerage that I work for. My broker's name is Kathy Green, and our brokerage name is Major League Realty. So even though I will be the representative assisting you in this contract, um, you are actually going into contract with our brokerage. And so, number two is just stating what the purpose of this contract is, that you are granting the broker the right to act as your agent, as your representative when talking to other agents, when talking to maybe your lender, talking to inspectors, or different things, that you're giving that broker the right to act on your behalf. Couple under the definitions, explaining what a word acquire means. Again, this can be for a purchase or a lease in this case. We'll talk about closing because that's when payment is due to your agent, is at closing. And so the definition of what a closing is whenever you go into that final contract and you execute that contract, whether it's the purchase of a home or when you move into that piece of property that you're leasing. So the market area. So every agent licensed in Texas is licensed for the whole state of Texas. However, most agents usually serve a certain area. So for me, I serve in the Dallas-Fort Worth, kind of the North Texas area. And so that's usually what I put here in the market area for me. I mean, wherever you are in Texas, that might be the Lubbock area or Amarillo or San Antonio. It will tell you an area. So that means you, as the client, when you're looking at homes in this market area that's listed here, your agent is your representative. You need to call them if you want to do any showings, and this is even if it's a for sale by owner home. Call your agent and let them know what you're looking for. I can't tell you how many uh, clients I've gotten phone calls from through a referral service like Realtor.com or Zillow, where they're wanting to have me go show them a home. One of the first questions I ask them is, "Are you already represented by an agent?" And they may say, yes, yeah, we have been working with an agent. So I have to tell them, okay, well, if this is the market area that you've gone into contract with your agent on with, then you need to contact your agent and let them show you this property. Speaking of the word property, the next section deals with that terminology of what property means. And please, as I said a minute ago, notice that it even talks about the property for sale by owners. This next section, section 4, the term, this is extremely important. This tells you how long this contract is good for. And again, this is, you can see there's blank lines under here. So this is something that can be negotiated out. Typically, I don't make my contracts with my clients go longer than 60 or 90 days. That gives us plenty of time to find a home, to put an offer in, and then, usually a closing window of about 30 days. So I try to put a little bit of a cushion in there. This term becomes very important later on. You can always extend it. We'll talk about how to cancel a contract here before we're done here, but this shows you the term of the contract. So real quickly, 5 and 6 goes over the brokers and clients obligations. Number 5, that the broker and the broker's agent, they're going to use their best efforts to assist you in acquiring property in the market area. This is very important. Can't tell you how many clients I've talked to that said that they had been working with a realtor, but they didn't ever have time to show them property. Even here in this Dallas Fort Worth area, that's a big area. And so I live more on the western side. And so for me to go show a home, in southeast Dallas, that's about an hour and a half trip each way. And so I have to be willing, if I'm going to be your agent, I have to understand that and realize that if that's where you're looking to move, that I'm going to have the time to go show you those properties and probably go back to that home many times through the inspection process all the way through closing. So again, make sure that your broker and your broker's agent has time uh, to show you the properties and to spend the time with you. I try not to have any more than 4 or 5 clients at any one time so that I can be there for my clients. On the other hand, you as the client also have certain obligations. And the first one is the one we were talking about just a moment ago, that you're going to work exclusively with that broker and that agent in acquiring the property and negotiating. Making phone calls on your own, trying to go see properties and things like that, it's really a no-no and a violation of this agreement. So if you're wanting to go buy real estate on your own, then fine, but uh, don't engage in the services or go into contract with a broker or an agent if that's what you're going to be doing. So, Section 7 deals with how the broker and the agent represent you. Um, and this is also showing that you are the person who's signing this form and that you're not already working with another broker. So, intermediary status. One of the things your broker should have already gone over with you before you even got to this point is understanding how brokerages work and giving you a copy of what's called the information about brokerage services. You can find this on most real estate agents, well, it should be on all real estate agents and brokerages websites, somewhere at the bottom. It's usually also attached to emails and things like that. It's called the information about brokerage services to show you how a brokerage would work. And so you've got to check one of these boxes. Um, if you're working for a brokerage that also has listings, people tend to get kind of cautious, thinking that, uh, you know, uh, we're going to try to run up the price or just show internal listings first or anything else. Again, our job as an agent is to represent you fully. If that means showing you homes that's listed by the brokerage, fine. If it means foregoing those homes and looking at other homes that are not listed by the brokerage, then that's what we do as well. So in an intermediary status, this means that if you are showing a home listed by this brokerage, that the broker will assign an agent to both sides, and that broker can just answer questions. That broker can't take sides or anything else. They'll each have an agent representing them as if we were dealing with any other brokerage. And so this is it. I mean, it is common that you will want to see the homes that are listed by a brokerage as well. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you can check the no intermediary status box as well. And that means that me as an agent cannot show you any of the homes listed by our brokerage. And then here you have a few extra laws about and reminders on what that intermediary status looks like. Um, Again, please make sure you understand this before you sign anything, so you understand exactly what happens in those cases. Section 9 deals with the competing clients. So me as an agent, as I told you, I try to keep around 4 to 5 clients, and I may be showing other clients the same homes I'm showing you. My job is to represent them in the transaction. It's my job to represent you in the transaction. Um, it, this is just saying you acknowledge that could be happening, and my job as an agent is not to tell you what my other clients are willing to bid on a home or anything else from what we have to do to outbid them. Um, my job is to represent each of my clients to the fullest extent. Section 10 deals with confidentiality, and confidentiality extends past the termination of this contract. So any information, any personal information that you've given me, if you've shared with me your social security number, any of your lender information that deals with your personal and personally identifiable information. It's my job as your agent, our job as the brokerage, to continue to keep that confidential even after the expiration of this contract. Uh, Section 11, this is the section that most people want to really talk about. And this is the one you want to pay closest attention to, even though everything else is important as well. This is dealing with how much it costs. So usually what you'll find here is that um, this is where you'll talk about what fees will need to be paid to your agent, to your brokerage, for them to represent you. Now, uh, again, you will see that there's a lot of blanks here. People think that there's a standard 6% or standard 3%. This is each contract is negotiated with each client, and you need to make sure you understand that. So let's just say, for example, here in this section, and we agree that for me to represent you, that I should earn a 3% commission for this, and it would be 3% that would be due to me or to my brokerage at closing. And so we would write 3% here. Now, something to tell you about that: as a buyer's agent, uh, typically the seller will pay the fees for both the buyer's rep and the listing rep. So usually the seller is taking care of both sides. However, at the time of this recording in early 2022, it's still very much a seller's market. And so if you want to choose to pay your own buyer's representation fees, then you can do that, and that would make your offers that much stronger. But again, that would be the percentage of the closing price and the contract price that you would pay your broker. The second part deals with an agent that's representing you to acquire a lease if you're trying to rent out a piece of property, to rent a piece of property, not rent out. And there's two different options. It could be a percentage of 1 month's rent that would be due Usually it's within 7 days of moving uh, into the leased property. Um, and you can do it as a percentage of 1 month's rent or a percentage of all the rent paid that will be paid over 1 year. Again, that's a negotiated term between you and uh, your agent and brokerage. This section B just talks about um, what I was talking about a minute ago. As a buyer's agent, I would do my best to make sure that the seller or the landlord, in the case of a lease, would pay my fee. But in the case that that doesn't happen, then you, as the client, are responsible for paying those fees. And again, we talked about this as well. The earned and payable, that this shows when those fees are due. The additional compensation is if there's anything extra that the seller or landlord uh, offers extra in excess of the amount in 11A. For example, let's say there was 3% here. However, maybe um, a lot of some new home builder contracts, they'll pay the buyer's agent 4% instead of 3%. So what that's saying is, we're as an agent, I'll get paid at least the 3%, and if it's more, then that's what I've earned and what our brokerage has earned as well. So this is section F is very important because this is what a lot of people um, miss, is all the extra fees. So this is uh, if it's a new home construction that is dragging on and you have an agent that's representing you, that fee may come due before closing in this case. And this is where that extra language would be put in the contract of when that fee would be due. Um, uh, this is understanding that you're going to ask your agent a bunch of questions, maybe about what inspector to use, what lender to use, what homeowners insurance company to use, home security, all sorts of different things that you may ask your broker to say, hey, do you know of anybody who can help? And as a broker agent, we will recommend those people. And there are times that those people in turn will turn around, maybe get a referral fee or some type of gift or something else like that. Again, just because your agent refers them doesn't mean that's who you have to go with. But typically, those agents have good relationships with those people, and those people are more inclined to take care of you, so that that agent will continue to refer people to them. But just so you know that there may be a referral fee that gets paid to some agents. And so there is another section, a kind of a catch-all section that people may write in right here, and it could be for any number of things, but make sure you're paying attention to those blanks. So G is the protection period. So let's say that your agent that you're in contract with, they show you this house. You like it and whatever, but you decide you want to fire your agent, or let's say that the listing agreement expires, but you still want to get it. Maybe you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll save on these uh, commission fees by just going into contract on my own. I've already seen the house, I like it, and maybe I could just make an offer on my own. And so you decide to do that. So what this protection period does is, for a number of days after the contract terminates, whether you firing your agent or the buyer's representation agreement expires, if you were to do that, um, and you were to go ahead and put in an offer on that house. This number right here will tell you uh, if you go into contract within so many days on a home that buyer's rep showed you, then that commission is still going to be due to that agent. And that kind of uh, shows you how that works. Again, please talk to your agents. Some agents may not enforce this, but it is here and it is enforceable because it is part of the contract. So the escrow authorization, this is basically saying that you understand that the escrow agent, usually the title company, is authorized to pay the agent out of the closing funds. Um, then this last section about the amounts payable to the broker to be paid in cash. It's whatever county usually that brokerage is based out of. Typically, you aren't paying things in cash anymore. Very, very seldom. Most of the time nowadays, you'll probably see this that in NA or something is put in this blank. Then as you get to the last parts of the contract, this is where you get into some more of the legal stuff, mediation. If there's a contract dispute that you're going to work in good faith to try to resolve it. And then what happens in the case of default, if either, don't forget, this is not just the clients that have responsibility in this contract. This is a two-way contract, and your broker and broker's agent have responsibilities to fulfill as well. And this is 13 section 13 talks about what happens if anybody defaults on this agreement. And Section 14 talks about the different who will pay the attorney fees. Um, and then section 15 is the limitation of liability. If I'm an agent showing you a home and you step into a hole out in the yard and twist your ankle, that is at your own risk, and you are releasing the agent of the brokerage from damages in the event of something like that happening. And then finally, you've got section 16, which is the addenda. Again, included with this contract. Again, it should have already been gone over with you by your broker or your agent. That information about brokerage services, and you will sign that page saying that you have received a copy of that and you understand what that's talking about. There may also be some other addenda that are provided to you by your agent, and that's where if these boxes are checked, then that addenda should be supplied with this contract. Section 17 is a special provision. If you have anything else that needs to be put here, this needs to be done with attorneys, because anything you write on here is enforceable by law, and you really don't need to be just writing things in here. And then section 18 is just some more fine print explaining explaining how brokerages work. I do want to point out. I want to call out a few sections here. Um, Letter B in section 18 deals that all brokerages in the state of Texas we comply with fair housing laws. We're going to provide you the service without regard to race, color, religion, origin, sex, disability, familial status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And we'll explain that to you. You can't tell your agent that you want to just find a neighborhood that has all of one race or one of a certain type of people. Your agent's not allowed to do that. That's against federal laws and state laws. Something else that is very important and should be explained to you several times is that as agents and brokers, we are not inspectors, surveyors, engineers, compliance inspector, any of those things. I mean, we can help you a little bit find those people, but in the end, those are each one of those areas is a certified and usually a degreed position. And as an agent, I know I've never been to engineering school. You do not want me commenting on the structural integrity of a home or a piece of property. You need to find licensed, qualified individuals to do those types of things. Um, uh, in this day and age, it's also important to know that when you are looking at a piece of property, there is the uh, potential that you may be being recorded by uh, the homeowner. That, with all the different surveillance tools and whether it's the doorbells or cameras set up around the house, security cameras, things like that, it's important to know that you might be recorded, and so you need to be careful of what you're saying and what you're doing when you are looking at those. Um, be careful with wire fraud. You will notice as you go through this process that the title companies, that the lenders, they'll give you lots of wire fraud notices, very specific instructions on who to wire money to and how to do that through that process. And if you have any questions about that, you need to contact that lender, title company, or agent directly. And finally, again, while this is a contract for a brokerage or an agent to represent you, this is also a contract between you and the agent or brokerage. And you need to, if you have any questions, you do need to consult an attorney, excuse me. Brokers cannot give you legal advice. But this is a binding agreement. This is a full contract and not to be taken lightly. So if you have any questions, make sure that those are answered. I know that was a lot of information. We've spent nearly 30 minutes covering this contract. Um, for just a moment, I do want to make sure that you understand if if you don't feel like your agent or your broker is acting in your best interest, you can fire them. I tell my clients that all the time, that they're the boss. I mean, as long as you're not asking me to do something illegal, immoral, um, uh, then or unethical, then we're bound to what you ask us to do. If you don't feel like your agent is working in your best benefit, you can fire them, shoot them an email. You don't even have to give them a reason, but you can terminate that agreement. I would ask that you do so in writing. You can call them on the phone, but it's best if nothing else, send them an email. I hope that was beneficial to you, and we'll see you next time.
I hope you found that helpful, and be sure to ask any questions and every question that you have and make sure it's answered to your satisfaction before you sign any documents throughout the real estate process. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.